Washington Nationals made one thing very clear this offseason. No one was safe. What started as a simple rebuild quickly turned into a full-scale roster shakeup. And somehow, it led to one of the strangest off-seasons this franchise has ever had. Because after trading away a few core players, Washington did something no one expected. They brought some of them back. The first decision came down to the Nationals' young ace, Mackenzie Gore. The board overwhelmingly voted to move him, and the Brewers were calling. Washington sent Mackenzie Gore and Luke Weaver to Milwaukee in exchange for shortstop prospect Jefferson Rojas and closer prospect Kevin Brubaker, a move that signaled the Nationals were leaning even further into the rebuild. But they weren't done. The next vote split the board completely. Luis Garcia. Half the room wanted to extend him, the other half wanted to deal him. Ownership cast the deciding vote. Garcia was traded to the Atlanta Braves. In return, Washington landed Cameron Bernstein and left field prospect Eldon Serrano. Once the door opened, the fire sale truly began. Gregory Soto was sent to Seattle for 3 prospects in Troy Taylor, Preston Lane, and Anthony Carney. Carl Edwards Jr. actually followed him to the Mariners, bringing back second baseman Fernando Alceo. Raisel Iglesias returned to where his career began, Cincinnati. The Nationals received outfield prospect Randolph Biggs. But the biggest surprise came in a deal with the Dodgers. Washington sent Adolis Garcia and Garrett Whitlock to Los Angeles. And in return, they landed Adam Couch and Tyrell Royster, 2 more prospects added to a rapidly growing farm system. Then came the draft, and the Nationals may have quietly built one of the strongest classes yet. First-round pick Jason Fegan arrived as a 73 overall with 85 potential, a player who could realistically reach the majors in a year or 2. Second rounder Willie O'Rourke was another closer, but a dominant one. A strikeout machine who rarely gives up hits. And then came one of the most intriguing players in the class, left fielder James Yan, a raw 55 overall player with 93 potential. But the biggest wild card might be Victor Cabrera, a catcher with 99 potential, only a 54 overall right now, but possibly a future star. The season itself went about as well as you'd expect after such a dramatic reset. The Nationals finished 69 and 93. The AAA Red Wings went 69 and 81, and the AA Senators finished 70 and 68. No playoff appearances anywhere in the system, but there were some bright spots. James Wood had a breakout season, 2nd in the National League in triples, 1st in walks, 5th in on-base percentage, and 3rd place for DH Silver Slugger. Rhys Hoskins was even better, 2nd in the league in home runs, 2nd in slugging, 4th in OPS, and finished 3rd in MVP voting. Jacob Young finished 4th in stolen bases in the National League, and Ray Pineda won a Gold Glove at 3rd base. The pieces were beginning to show. Around the league, the Dodgers defeated the Blue Jays in 7 games to win the World Series, and ironically, Adolis Garcia missed the playoff run. One of the greatest pitchers of a generation officially called it a career, with Clayton Kershaw retiring and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Then came the moment no one saw coming. The Nationals brought him back. Mackenzie Gore returned to Washington on a 2-year deal worth around $40 million. Luis Garcia returned too. 3 years, around $39 million. Even Gregory Soto came back on a 2-year deal. The Nationals had traded them away, collected the prospects, and signed them back for cheaper than they wanted anyway. And if that wasn't strange enough, the draft lottery delivered another surprise. Washington jumped from the 5th spot all the way to 1st overall. But the good fortune didn't last that long, because arbitration hit the payroll really hard. Some decisions worked in Washington's favor. James Wood, Jacob Young, Mitchell Parker all stood around their contracts. But several losses drove salaries up dramatically, like on Jake Irvin, Nasim Nunez, Nolan Jones, Stone Garrett. Suddenly, the Nationals had another problem. They couldn't afford to keep everyone. The first move came at shortstop. Washington acquired Geraldo Perdomo from Philadelphia, a move that immediately put Nasim Nunez's future in doubt. Another trade with Seattle followed. Cade Cavalli and Mason Thompson were sent away, and Washington received pitching prospect Clemente Nieves. And before spring training, Nolan Jones signed a 4-year extension. Spring training brought both excitement and some concern. Jake Irvin posted a .288 ERA. Casey Mize was also really good. Nolan Jones and Stone Garrett both hit above .290, but Mackenzie Gore struggled, posting a 6 ERA. And several young hitters started slow. Still, one player stole the spotlight: Johnny Chappell. The Nationals' new closer, fresh up from the minors, had 8 save opportunities and got all 8 saves, including this one against the Mets. Spring training domination, and the hope that Washington had finally found its bullpen anchor. Opening day, Jake Irvin took the mound for Washington, and Nolan Jones delivered the first big moment of the season.
Here's Nolan Jones at the plate, and he takes a swing. This one's driven into the right center field gap. That ball is down. It will be an RBI double as the Nationals have taken the lead.
But the lead didn't last. The A's tied it in the 7th. And in the bottom of the 11th, J.J. Bleday dropped a bloop single into left field right in front of James Wood. Game over. Nationals lose. But Johnny Chappell quickly changed the narrative. Strikeouts, clutch saves, and multiple late-inning heroics. The young closer was quickly becoming one of the most exciting players on the entire roster. Then came the following draft. With the first overall pick, Washington selected Ricky O'Leary, an 18-year-old switch-hitting first baseman, a player that scouts believed could be generational. The Nationals then followed with several pitching prospects. Second-rounder Sean Segura, a starting pitcher with some strong command, a potential mid-rotation arm. The third round brought in another pitcher in Rob Gomez Phelps. Fourth round, maybe Washington found a hidden gem in Jackson Lopez. The Nationals finally added another position player in the 5th round when they took left fielder Derek Torres. And in the 6th round, there wasn't much left on the board, so they took a flyer on Edgar Villasamil. But signing those players wasn't easy. O'Leary eventually did agree to terms. Jackson Lopez was the first to sign, actually, but several players remained undecided, and Washington was risking losing parts of the class entirely. By the trade deadline, the Nationals sat at 55 and 57, 8 games out of first in the NL East, and 4 games out of wildcard positioning. It was a division race that was suddenly wide open, which left the front office with some massive questions. Do they buy? Xavier Edwards is available from the Minnesota Twins, a contact hitter with decent speed who could add even more life to Washington's lineup. Or they could pursue a bigger move, Dalton Rushing, a versatile catcher who can also play first base and the outfield. Blocked in Los Angeles by Will Smith, but talented enough to make an immediate impact in Washington. The Nationals could add one or even both of those players. But if the Nationals decide to sell, the most obvious piece is JT Realmuto. The veteran catcher has been a two-time All-Star in Washington, but at 36 years old, his production's beginning to decline, and contenders could still see him as a valuable postseason piece. If Realmuto goes, he may not be the only one. So the question now returns to the same place that it started, the boardroom. Should the Nationals push for a playoff run or stay committed to the long-term rebuild? Buy or sell? The choice is yours.